Welcome to Default Deny Diaries, presented by PC Matic, the podcast that takes you to the front lines of modern cybersecurity. Each episode brings real-world stories, expert interviews, and deep dives into the latest threats, trends, and tools that shape how we protect businesses and endpoints today.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling a topic that's generating a lot of buzz, particularly if you're an MSP navigating the world of government contracts.
We're talking about the Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification, or CMMC.
Right. And we've got some really valuable insights to unpack today based on a great session with Evan Dumouchel from North Star Strategies. She's a CMMC certified pro, and Tom Regan from PC Matic.
Yeah, our mission with this deep dive really is to give you, our listener, a clear, structured, and honestly actionable way to understand CMMC scoping.
Especially how it impacts MSPs and your clients. We want to get past the jargon.
Get to the strategies that actually work, hopefully spark some aha moments without making your head spin.
Exactly. No information overload here. Think of this as your focused guide. The session really hammered home that CMMC, well, it's a strategy game.
And it all kicks off with smart scoping. That's the foundation.
Okay, so let's dive in. Scoping. What's the core idea there?
Fundamentally, it's about drawing the lines, defining the boundaries for your assessment.
Identifying what's in and what's out?
Precisely. The assets, the systems, the data that CMMC rules apply to. Get this wrong. And you're looking at unnecessary complexity, maybe extra costs later. It's critical.
Right. And the session pinpointed two key types of information driving this: FCI for level 1 and CUI for level 2.
Yeah, FCI is federal contract information. CUI is controlled unclassified information.
Can you break those down? What do they mean practically?
Sure. For level 1, FCI is, well, pretty much any information related to performing a federal contract. It's a wide net.
Right.
For level 2, you're dealing with CUI. This is specific data the government says needs protecting. The session mentioned the NERA Registry National Archives. That's the go-to place to check if something is CUI.
Good tip. And the CMMC level itself, level 1 or 2, that's specified in the contract.
Correct. It'll be right there in the contract requirements. For a lot of folks starting out, especially MSPs, level 1 will be the immediate focus.
But understanding level 2 is smart for the long game.
Definitely. Future-proofing.
So we know about FCI and CUI. How do we figure out what parts of our IT setup actually touch that data? Data flow mapping.
Bingo. That's exactly it. Think of it like tracing. You follow the path of that FCI or CUI from the moment it enters your environment.
Through every system, every app.
Every server, workstation, network device it interacts with, all the way until it leaves or gets stored permanently.
And the rule is?
If the data touches it, it's in scope. Simple as that, conceptually at least.
Follow the data. Got it. Now, shared responsibility came up. How does that fit in, especially for MSPs managing multiple clients? That seems complicated.
It's absolutely vital, particularly in the MSP world. It's all about clarity. Who does what?
Who's responsible for each security control?
Exactly. Is it the MSP managing the firewall? Is it the client handling employee security training? Maybe it's a third-party vendor providing a specific tool.
It's spelled out.
Absolutely. Without that clear definition, you get gaps. Things fall through the cracks. It makes compliance and, frankly, actual security much harder.
Okay. And to keep that scope from ballooning, the idea of secure enclaves was mentioned. What are those?
Think of them as protected bubbles.
Yeah.
Isolated segments within the IT environment specifically set up to handle the FCI or CUI.
So you contain the sensitive data.
Right. At every step, processing, storage, transmission. By doing that, you can potentially limit the scope significantly, instead of your entire network needing the full CMMC treatment.
It might just be that specific enclave.
Precisely. The goal, as the session stressed, is always the smallest possible defensible scope. Makes the whole CMMC journey more manageable, less costly.
Sounds logical. But the session was realistic, too. It's a journey, not a flip of the switch thing.
Oh, absolutely not. Perfection isn't the goal on day one. The advice was, start focused, tackle the critical stuff first.
And use a POAM?
Yes, the plan of actions and milestones. Crucial document. It basically lists where you have gaps where you don't meet a requirement yet.
And outlines the plan to fix them.
Exactly. What steps you'll take, who's responsible, timelines. It shows auditors you have a plan, you're working towards compliance. It's essential for CMMC.
And celebrate the wins. Iterate.
Keep improving. It's an ongoing process.
Okay, let's dig into level 1 scope. Action word-based, they said. What does that mean for an MSP day-to-day?
It means if you or your client do something with FCI, process it, store it, transmit it, that action, And the things involved are in scope.
Examples.
Simple things, really. Viewing FCI on a monitor, saving a file with FCI, printing it out, sending it in an email.
So again, tracking that flow is everything.
That always comes back to the data flow.
Yeah.
Where does that FCI go? Who touches it? Because every touch point matters for scope.
And assets isn't just tech, right? That was a key point.
Absolutely. Big mistake to only think hardware and software. People are assets, employees, contractors handling FCI. Processes are assets. Your documented procedures for handling it. Even physical places, facilities where FCI might be accessed or stored.
And the MSP itself.
Often, yes. The MSP providing services is usually considered a security protection asset, or maybe a contractor risk-managed asset, or even a CUI asset, depending on the service, because they directly impact the client's data security.
What about the vendors MSPs use, like their SIM provider or SOC or NOC?
Good question. They fall into scope, too, typically as security protection assets. If your SOC monitors a client network handling FCI.
That SOC provider is part of the CMMC picture.
Yep. The MSP needs to vet them, make sure their security is up to snuff for protecting that client's FCI. It's a chain of responsibility.
Okay, flip side. What's generally out of scope for level 1? Specialized assets.
Yeah, for level 1, certain things usually aren't assessed directly. Government-furnished equipment, GFE.
Okay.
IoT devices, generally. Operational technology, OT systems. Think industrial controls, things like that.
So they don't get audited against the controls.
Not directly for level 1 assessment, no. But, and this is important, you still need to account for them. Document them in your planning. Explain why they're considered out of scope.
What else?
Things configured entirely by the government contract specs and some specialized test equipment. Again, their specific purpose and controlled use puts them outside the main assessment scope for level 1. You still need to understand them, though.
Makes sense. Now, external service providers, ESPs. Huge topic for MSPs. Who counts as an ESP and when do they get pulled into the CMMC scope?
An ESP is basically any outside company providing IT or cybersecurity services. Could be cloud hosting, could be a security tool provider, could be another MSP you subcontract to.
And they're in scope
If they touch CUI, or if their services protect CUI assets. A cloud service provider, a CSP like AWS or Azure, is a specific type of ESP.
And if they store CUI?
Big requirement there. They need to be FedRAMP, moderate compliant or equivalent. You need to verify that. Ask them, check the FedRAMP marketplace. It's non-negotiable for CUI storage or processing in the cloud.
So for an MSP trying to map this out for themselves or a client, what are those key triggers that bring any ESP into scope?
Two main triggers. One, does the ESP store, process, or transmit CUI for you or your client? Two, does the ESP provide security functions that protect CUI assets? Think security monitoring, logging, identity management tools.
If the answer to either is yes.
Then that ESP needs to be documented in the System Security Plan, the SSP. And you need clearly defined roles and responsibilities for how they handle or protect that data.
Does every ESP need to get CMMC certified themselves?
No, not necessarily. That's a common confusion. If the ESP handles CUI directly, then yes, the services they provide related to that CUI are assessed as part of your CMMC assessment scope.
But if they just provide a security tool that protects CUI but don't handle the CUI itself?
Then the ESP doesn't need their own CMMC cert, but the relevant security aspects of their service still need to be documented and managed within your or your client's SSP.
What kind of documentation and contractual stuff needs to be in place for these in-scope ESPs?
Several key things. First, document them in the SSP. Second, you need a customer responsibility matrix or CRM.
That spells out who does what for each control.
Exactly. Client, MSP, ESP, who's responsible. Shared. It needs to be crystal clear. Third, your contracts must define these responsibilities and include relevant security SLAs.
Service level agreements.
And finally, just generally documenting the roles clearly is good practice for risk management anyway. The SSP is the big one. It holds all your policies, procedures, artifacts, showing how you meet the controls. The CRM is often part of that, like a detailed spreadsheet.
Okay. The session also touched on level 2. Even if level 1 is the focus now, looking ahead seems wise. How does scoping change at level 2?
Yeah, understanding level 2 helps build that future-proof strategy. The official level 2 scoping guide is your friend here. It has a helpful table.
What's the gist?
Basically, level 2 includes all level 1 assets, plus any asset that processes, stores, or transmits CUI. These get assessed against all 110 Level 2 security requirements.
Okay, so CUI handling brings more assets in.
Right. Also, systems providing security protection scenes, NER tools, they get assessed against the Level 2 requirements relevant to their function.
And those specialized assets from level 1, OT, IoT.
They become specialized assets at Level 2. Still need documentation in the SSP, but they don't get assessed against 110 controls.
Interesting. Any other categories?
Yes. Contractor risk-managed assets. These are systems that could handle CUI, but aren't supposed to, like maybe an HR system.
And the idea is?
If you can prove, through strong policies and procedures documented in your SSP, that they're effectively segmented and protected, it might streamline the audit for those systems. But you need to be ready to show they meet all controls if challenged. It's a bit higher risk.
What about things that are out of scope for level 2?
The main rule is, if an asset fits into any in-scope category, CUI asset, security protection asset, etc., it cannot be out of scope.
So you can't just decide something's out.
Nope. To declare something out of scope at Level 2, you need demonstrable, documented proof of physical or logical separation from the CUI environment. It has to be robust and verifiable, all detailed in the SSP.
Okay, pulling this all together. For MSPs and their clients listening, what are the immediate practical first steps?
Identify your assets, everything. Map your data flows, especially FCI and CUI. Get a full picture of your internal and external ecosystem. Know your ESPs.
And the mindset shift.
View CMMC not just as compliance, but as a driver, an enabler to become real security experts, build trust, make your business and your clients' businesses more resilient.
Good perspective. Now, a practical question. How much of CMMC is finalized? Is it still changing?
The word from the session was, it's pretty locked in. The final rule is out.
So where should people look for the definitive guidance?
The official CMMC website, always the primary source. Get the Level 1 and Level 2 assessment guides and the Level 1 and 2 scoping guides.
Those assessment guides sound useful.
They really are. Like a cheat sheet, as the speaker put it. They explain each control, the objectives, and have a further discussion part that gives context, the why behind it.
And the auditors use these exact same guides.
That's the key. Align with the guide, and your audit should go much smoother.
Okay, let's tackle a common objection. We don't do federal work directly, so CMMC isn't for us. What's the counter to that?
Well, 2 points came up. First, the expectation is CMMC-like requirements might spread. State, local governments, maybe even cyber insurance carriers could start looking for similar frameworks because it's gaining traction.
So it could become a broader standard.
Potentially. Second, NIST 800-171, which is the core of CMMC, is just good cybersecurity hygiene. Implementing it makes any business more secure.
And it positions MSPs well if they do want to support clients in the defense industrial base, the DIB.
Exactly. It prepares you holistically.
For an MSP totally green on CMMC, feeling overwhelmed, where do they start? Like step 1.
Back to basics. Asset definition, scoping. Aim for that smallest defensible scope. That's job number 1.
Any specific resources mentioned for newbies?
Yeah, the CMMC Professionals Network, CPN. And again, the official CMMC site, the 101 FAQ, and those scoping guides are great starting points.
All right. Now, the session shifted gears a bit to PC Matic's role, specifically around application allow listing. Tom Regan connected their solution to CMMC needs.
Right. Application allow listing is a big one.
Define it for us quickly.
It's basically saying, only software on this approved list can run. Everything else is blocked by default.
And how does that link to CMMC?
Directly maps to a key control. CM7 in NIST 800-171 least functionality. Prohibiting unauthorized software. It's super effective against malware, ransomware, 0 days, because if the malicious code isn't on the list, it just can't execute.
Especially important for systems handling that sensitive CUI.
Absolutely critical.
Why is this challenging for MSPs, though, implementing it across many clients?
Scale and diversity. Managing allow lists manually across dozens or hundreds of clients, each with different software needs. It used to be almost impossible, frankly. Too complex, too time-consuming.
But it's a cornerstone for CMMC Level 2.
And the session highlighted a key change in NIST 800-171 Revision 3. It's moving away from allowing blacklisting or allow listing towards strongly emphasizing allow listing, that default deny approach for protecting CUI.
Default deny, meaning block everything unless specifically allowed.
Exactly. Allow listing stops the unknown threats. Blacklisting only stops known bad stuff. That's why it's often called a gold standard, like MFA.
So how does PC Matic's tech tackle this allow listing challenge?
Their core is a patented allow listing engine. It uses a huge global database, over 22 billion verified apps, apparently.
Wow.
Yeah. Key features are that constantly updated global list. They have a malware team verifying unknowns daily. Granular control using hashes, signatures, paths, and importantly, a lightweight agent so it doesn't bog down systems.
And for MSPs specifically?
Centralized management portal, simpler configuration than traditional methods, scales easily from few to many endpoints. They mentioned a competitive price point and that lots of MSPs already use them.
Does PC Matic help with other CMMC areas besides just allow listing?
Yes, the session covered that too. The remote access tool aligns with access control, needs things like RDP device allow listing.
Similar concept.
Vulnerability scanning and patch management align with risk assessment. Software inventory and their fingerprint dashboard help with system integrity and asset management.
So it can potentially streamline compliance across several areas.
That's the idea. Save time, reduce complexity by hitting multiple controls with one platform.
Onboarding is often a pain point with allow listing. How does PC Matic handle getting a new client set up without blocking everything initially?
So they use that fingerprint dashboard. The process is, deploy to a few test machines first. Run a full scan to see everything installed.
Identify the legit software, including maybe some unknowns you need to approve?
Right.
Yeah.
Build that initial local allow list based on the scan. Test
Yeah.
it, then roll out to everyone else with that pre-approved list. It minimizes that initial disruption significantly.
Sounds much better than the old manual ways.
Oh, yeah. It tackles that scalability issue that made allow lifting so hard before.
How does it play with other security tools? EDR, AV. Can you stack them?
According to the session, yes. They said it runs real well side by side with minimal performance hit. Lots of their clients apparently run it in stacked environments.
Good to know. Let's talk client misconceptions about CMMC. What came up?
One big one. Oh, we only handle basic info. We won't need level 2. The reality check is, even if they think they only handle FCI now, their prime contractor might push level 2 requirements down anyway. Understanding data flow is key, regardless.
So primes might dictate higher levels.
Very likely in many cases. Another misconception, this one may be more positive but still needs clarification. Does CMMC mean we can't work with our international team members?
The ITAR confusion.
Exactly. CMMC is not ITAR. Generally, international collaboration is okay under CMMC as long as you meet the data access and protection rules. There are exceptions for highly sensitive, export-controlled stuff, of course. And it's different from FedRAMP's stricter personnel requirements sometimes.
Important distinction. Lastly, scalability of PC Matic Pro. Any endpoint limits?
The answer was clear. No limit. They gave examples of clients with over 6,000 endpoints running fine.
And there are different platform versions.
Yeah, briefly mention a general commercial version and a separate federal platform tailored for government contractor needs.
Okay, let's wrap this deep dive up. For everyone listening today, what are the absolute key takeaways on CMMC for MSPs?
Okay, boil it down. CMMC is crucial, especially if you're in or near the DoD space. Smart scoping is job number 1. Get that right first.
Understand your role as an ESP.
Vitally important for MSPs. And remember, application allow listing, it's a key control, pretty much mandatory for level 2. Solutions like PC Matic can really streamline implementing it and hitting other CMMC controls too.
Great summary. If you want to connect directly with Evan Dumouchel at North Star Strategies for CMMC guidance,
Her email is info@northstarstrategies.us, and you can find her on LinkedIn, Evan Dumouchel.
and if you're curious about PC Matic's MSP platform and how it maps to CMMC,
Head to pcmatic.com/SP. You'll find contact info there. And feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn too if questions pop up later.
please do reach out. We love hearing from you, and your questions help us figure out what topics to tackle next.
Absolutely. And speaking of feedback, there's a quick survey after this.
Yeah.
Please take a minute. It really helps us tailor these deep dives to be as valuable and actionable as possible for you.
Help you improve security, maybe find new business opportunities. That's the goal. Well, thank you all for tuning in to this deep dive. We appreciate your time and your focus.
That's a wrap for this episode of Default Deny Diaries. Want to learn more about PC Matic's application allow listing? Head to pcmatic.com/MSP and take control of your cybersecurity today.